Hi and good evening. I hope this video finds you all well and safe during COVID 19. Uh, my particular presentation today is going to be on the mental health debate that's in college sports. One of the things that I would like to be addressing today in the midst of my presentation is the social worker's role in serving vulnerable communities. Something that I've come to recognize and understand in many ways, particularly through our research, through the course that we've had, that we've learned a lot of valuable things. And in this particular research project, it has aided me tremendously in doing further research in an area that I particularly am interested in. Who would think that elite athletes are vulnerable athletes? I know many would find it hard to believe in the world where elite athletes are considered the best physical, the best sports acumen, and the most athletic. But however, elite athletes are also vulnerable athletes, and we'll discuss that in several ways that they are vulnerable. One in particular way that they're most vulnerable is that a lot of elite athletes come from environments where they are the underserved as far as academics is concerned, as far as scholastic requirements, the collegiate requirements. A lot of the school systems in some of these underserved areas are undertrained. And so we have a mass of high school counselors in underserved school systems. Systems that are unable to provide the knowledge, the proper tools, and the learning and the requirements that college projected kids or prospects students need. And so we have a massed situation of several people coming into college underserved, unprepared, and unable sometimes to adapt. Thus, we come into a discussion about the mental health debate. Mental health with student athletes are at an all-time high. Many lack the know-how or how to treat it. Many come from situations where their family did not have insurance. So in terms of getting them assessed, in terms of getting them evaluated, those situations did not occur. And therefore, most of whatever was considered mental was also taught to be behavioral. An article in the National Association of Social Workers said that athletes are currently in an underserved population, a group that social workers possess skills and skill sets and abilities and professional ethics that we can serve them. Although sports psychiatrists, athletic trainers, their normal capacity is to take care of the physical and the mental performance of an athlete. And they do a great job at that. Coaches do a great job in preparing athletes to perform on the field of competition. However, when it comes to their welfare, their well-being, a lot of times some of these athletes are really traumatized. Let's not even go into some of the things that creates trauma, whether it be an injury or the fact that the expectations are so high for these athletes, so high that the performance is so required, so necessary, that a lot of them, when they are involved in some type of traumatic situation, an injury, they feel it necessary not to say anything. And the least of those traumatic injuries is when something happens to them mentally or emotionally. Even in that, they don't say anything. And so when it comes down to a particular group of athletes, a population, I don't want to skew the actual process of this presentation, but a lot of these are from the underserved communities. So from a mental health awareness standpoint, in the African American community in itself, mental health almost is looked upon as taboo. I know things have changed since I grew up, and the only way that you would dare mention somebody in a mental health dilemma they was in a mental ward or a hospital. And in those cases, even those were kept. There was more confidentiality amongst families than there is now in the public square, simply because of the advent of social media and things of that nature. And so, one of the things that I do want to talk about is that I don't want to point fingers. I don't want to make this process problem fact finding. I want to come up with some solutions. The social connection to some of these athletes is vital. Sometimes an athlete goes into such a commitment for performance and expectation and time and practice that they have very little time to study. And so in the classroom, they lack academic understanding. And in some cases, some of these same kids suffer at the point of academic disqualifications. Sometimes outside of coaches and trainers and players, the athletes are experiencing mental trauma. One never knows that there were undisclosed symptoms that never got treated. I want to move into a situation where, in particular, I interviewed, excuse me, a gentleman that I interviewed was also a gentleman that I life coached. And this particular gentleman played in the NFL. And a few things without disclosure, I asked questions regarding what was his personal life growing up. I asked him explain role models. I asked him, how did he deal with things mentally? How did he prepare himself academically? And to my surprise, he was a foster child. His family was split up. He didn't know his father, and he was raised by a mother who suffered from bipolarism. And so, in most cases, he never really was able to spend time with his immediate family, his brother and his sister, and those things had effects on him. Abandonment, detachments, different things. But somehow he was adopted. He was adopted by a family in Highland Park, Texas, and mainly out of the fact that he was very athletic. So athletic that he ended up obtaining a scholarship to a college here in Texas. Again, I will go undisclosed. And he was so talented that he actually was selected in the first round of the NFL draft. And one of the things I asked him on several occasions, I said, so what are some of the systems that you have to keep your head right? Because football is a game of the mental game more than it is a physical game. And so I said, what do you do for mental practice? I said, do you have anybody coaching you in the sense of how to have focus on your strength, mental abilities and talents and things? And he says, well, we have endurance coaches, we have trainers, we have nutritional, we have psychologists, but it's all about performance. Everything they show us is how we can do better. And so I said, well, who helps you feel better? And he said, I don't have anybody. And so that was one of the reasons why I opted or chose to life coaching, because what I ended up doing for the entire season that he played, that I was with him, was I focused on his mental strength, and I provided him cognitive dissonance techniques to help him think and focus and be alert and be aware all at the same time. Some of the things that I found interesting that in the aspect of his development, had he had somebody to talk to, somebody to discuss things with, had he had someone to talk about some of his traumatic experiences, perhaps he could have been better suited for life. In most cases, and I will come to a point of a halt or close, this is where I believe social workers are of a great asset to systems. Not only are they assets to individual players, but they can do group counseling. They can have sessions. They can do team sessions. They can be even good for the coaching system. Not that I would advocate that they are above coaching, because they're not. But we could provide, as social workers, a great balance to programs. And then when we hear about some of the things that are taking place, some of the things that athletes are harassed and go through mistreatment, we can advocate. because in one aspect, one of our major jobs is to do our jobs professionally without being attached. And so in my great debate, I would like to recommend a program, a campaign. It is entitled, or I would call it PTSD. In the mental health profession, it's called post-traumatic stress syndrome, but PTSD would be personal transformation with self-determination. Something that I would like to do is in this program, it could be benefited for veterans, it could be benefited for student athletes and students alike. The focus would be on one's personal strength and ability, strength finders. And they'll be providing resilience training through cognitive dissonance techniques and coping mechanisms and how to keep things in proper perspectives. Again, I wish you all well during this season of COVID-19. I hope all that you are well, and I look forward to the days in which we can connect. I've enjoyed this class. I've enjoyed being in this cohort. Have a great day. See you soon.